She said, "I'd have to marry you or break your heart. I can't do either." Then left me for someone more exciting. Months later, she came back crying, but I was already gone. For 3 long, transformative years, we were each other's world, or so I believed. At 34, I thought I had finally found what people write songs and poems about. She wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my partner in crime, my confidant, my safe place. We built a life on late-night walks, inside jokes that no one else understood, and countless spontaneous road trips that had no purpose other than to be together. We were the kind of couple who could sit in silence for hours and still feel connected. Her laughter, that free, unfiltered kind that only came out when she was truly happy, was like music to my soul, and for a time, I thought I was the one creating that joy. It wasn't a fairy tale, of course. No relationship ever is. We argued, sometimes about big things like priorities, sometimes about ridiculous little nothings. But I always believed that it was just normal friction, a natural part of a strong and enduring bond. She used to say we were weirdly in sync, and I couldn't have agreed more. We finished each other's thoughts. We knew when the other needed space without a word. Everything about it felt real. That's what made it so crushing when it all fell apart. Not with a fight, but with a sentence. It happened on a completely ordinary Tuesday night. We were sitting on the couch, halfway through a documentary that she had chosen. Neither of us was fully engaged in what was on the screen. We were talking aimlessly, shifting between the movie and conversations about the future. Then, out of nowhere, she fell silent. She turned to me, her expression blank, and said something that felt like it shattered the very foundation beneath me. If we actually got together for real, like, really got serious, I think I'd either have to marry you or break your heart, and I just can't do either of those things. First, I laughed. It sounded like a joke. One of those offhand comments you make when you're tired or being philosophical about love. But she wasn't smiling. She wasn't even looking at me. Her gaze was fixed somewhere in the distance. I asked her what that even meant. After 3 years, weren't we already serious? Hadn't we already built something real? Her answer didn't clarify anything. Instead, she said something that lodged itself in my chest like a heavy brick. "We're in this safe middle place. You're safe. But sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to want more." That word, safe, hung between us like a verdict. I had always thought that love was meant to be safe, that being with someone who knew you deeply and accepted you fully was the point. She went on, saying, "It's not that I don't care about you. You know I do. But if I stay, it feels like I'd have to commit in a way I'm not ready for. And if I leave, I know it'll hurt you. I don't want either." I didn't know what to say. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, reeling from the realization that the person I had poured my heart into was unsure whether I was what she really wanted. And what made it even more painful was that she wasn't cold. She wasn't angry. Her voice was gentle, like she pitied me, but not enough to stay. That night was quiet.
No dramatic ending, no explosive argument.
Just a gradual silence that grew louder with each passing minute. I went home thinking it was just a phase, that we'd talk again and sort it out like we always did. But deep down, something had shifted, something that wouldn't shift back. In the days that followed, nothing was officially over, but everything felt different. The connection that once lit up every room felt dimmed, fading. We still talked, we still met up, but her gaze was distant, like she was already halfway gone. The curiosity in her eyes, the spark that once made me feel seen, had been replaced by something hollow. I held on to hope longer than I should have. I thought maybe she was just scared. Maybe she needed time. Maybe people go through doubts. I didn't want to accept that someone could spend 3 whole years with you, wake up next to you, share your family, your future, your laughter, and still walk away. Then came that evening. About 3 weeks after our couch conversation, she texted and asked to meet at our diner, our place. The little spot where the staff knew us, where she always ordered the same sandwich and stole fries from my plate without asking. I thought maybe this was it. Maybe she realized what we had was worth fighting for. But the moment I walked in, I knew I was wrong. Her posture was polite but distant. Her eyes darted around the room, avoiding mine. And then, with the same casual tone someone might use to comment on the weather, she said it. "I've started seeing someone." I nodded, trying to look calm. I asked how long. She said, "Not long." But something in her voice told me the truth, that it had already started back when she told me I was too safe, that while I was holding on to hope, she was slipping away into someone else's arms. She said he made her feel excited again, that things with us had grown predictable, that he was spontaneous and funny in new ways. I just sat there, trying not to fall apart. And then came the final blow. She leaned in slightly and whispered, "But you'll always be my best friend." That line didn't just hurt. It was an insult dressed as kindness, as if I should be grateful for being downgraded from the love of her life to her emotional support system while she chased thrills with someone new. I didn't flinch. I didn't beg. I just said, "Thanks for telling me." We split the bill. I left a tip. And then we walked out into the night like two people who once knew each other intimately but now had nothing left to say. The worst part wasn't even the breakup. It was the way she tried to wrap it in a bow, like a kind gift, as if offering me friendship was some generous act after stripping me of love, future, and trust. I gave her 3 years of my life, my heart, my vulnerability, and she labeled me safe, familiar, replaceable. She texted me a week later. "Hope you're doing okay. Still here if you want to talk." I never replied, because what was there to say? "Thanks for making me your second choice. Glad you found someone more fun?" I remember sitting in my car that night after the diner. The parking lot was empty. I didn't turn on the music, didn't call anyone, just sat there, listening to my own thoughts bounce off the walls of my mind. I didn't know where to go. Not because I was lost, but because nowhere felt right anymore. Grief doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes in quiet moments, in empty beds, in habits that no longer make sense. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to send her a meme, a thought, a grocery store joke. Then I'd remember she wasn't my person anymore. I wasn't angry, not in the way people expect. I didn't scream at the sky or break plates. I just carried this deep, unshakable sadness. Not because I lost her, but because I realized I was never truly seen by her the way I saw her. That best friend line wasn't mercy. It was the knife's final twist. I didn't want to be her emotional crutch. I didn't want to be her backup plan. I wanted to be the man she chose without hesitation. So I did the only thing that made sense. I walked away, quietly, without drama. I deleted her number, blocked her on everything, and started to rebuild my life. The road wasn't easy. There were days when I couldn't breathe from the weight of it. Nights when I could still hear her laugh in my memory. Places I avoided because they were soaked with our ghosts. But slowly, I started finding my way back. I reconnected with old friends. I picked up hobbies I'd forgotten. I traveled alone. I read books. I sat with myself until the silence no longer felt like a threat. And in that space I found something. Me. The version of myself that wasn't defined by her. I stopped looking for closure. Stopped rehearsing what I'd say if she ever came back. Because the truth hit me like a whisper. Clear and undeniable. Love shouldn't feel like a burden or a favor. It shouldn't be a coin toss between safe and exciting. It should be mutual, deep, respectful, and whole. I didn't need a best friend. I needed a partner. And she wasn't willing to be that. Now, months later, I'm still healing, but I'm standing. Some wounds leave scars, but even scars mean you survived. Maybe one day, she'll look back and realize what she lost. Maybe not. Either way, I'm not waiting. Because I didn't walk away because I stopped loving her. I walked away because I finally started loving myself. If you've ever had to choose your own peace over someone else's uncertainty, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more stories of quiet strength and healing.